My Little Ponies, Season 9, Episode 22. Growing Up is Hard to Do. And, well, if nothing else, we got to see what the CMC are going to look like as adults. So, I mean...
At least theoretically.
Yeah, theoretically. I mean, assuming everything is as it seems, I mean...
Because, actually growing up causes various changes within one's physiology besides just physical growth. So.
Like, Skittle, why does my body hurt everywhere?
But...
You think Scootaloo is going to develop fibromyalgia?
Nah, never mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're just looking for what their character designs, the show's going to make a canon, like, this is what we think their character designs are going to look like in the future. It's like, okay, there it is.
Except for the giant scar that's going to end up across Scootaloo's eye from some stupid mistake.
Yeah, scars and that sort of thing, yeah, that'll be different. We get a tattoo or something.
They already got one. They're called cutie marks.
Yes, but it's a separate one. But we do also... I find it... one thing that I found interesting was after the musical number, like, their vocal cords, like, apparently finally they got matured, because they basically, what I think the direction was just use your normal voice, because they're all, like, around, the actresses that play the CMC are all around college age now. Like,
yeah.
See,
Kraber and Colette are 20, and Madeline Peters is 23. I looked it up because, like, how old are they now? Because you have the voices. It's like, yeah, okay, they're like, Kraber and Colette are for college age, and Peters is on the upper end of it. So so that's why suddenly you get Sweetie Belle and Applaloom have basically, they have their mature voices, because they've been intentionally kind of keeping them young sounding as they could. It sneaks in every once in a while, but
they haven't done for like 10 years.
Yeah, I think they do put a conscious effort into keeping those voices consistent, even though that's no longer their natural voice. But
one thing, it kind of makes me wonder, and I know they touched on it in the road trip episode with Trixie and Starlight, but what are those poor people on the train thinking? During that musical number.
Yeah. Oh, these ponies are jerks. They should have gotten
kicked off the train, okay? You see grown-ass people acting like that on a train, they get kicked off.
Yeah. Or at least they'll think, oh, those people are jerks. What are they doing?
You obviously have never ridden public transit.
I have ridden in public transit, and I have actually seen people get kicked off for a lot less than jumping on the seats and stepping on people.
Oh, yeah, on a bus, but when you take
No, I've been on a train and seen somebody kicked off a train.
I haven't never seen it, but it's I've done it a few times. I've ridden a train, but a not short train someplace, and they are, they were really quiet, to be honest, and so
they are really quiet generally.
Yeah,
I have seen a drunkard who is stumbling around and pestering people get kicked off a train. The blue line heading into Chicago.
Yeah.
There is a probably homeless, I don't know, drunk dude who is going around asking for people for money and, like, bumping into people and being completely intoxicated, got kicked off the train.
Yeah.
And that's not including all the jumping onto people that these girls were doing and running across the seats and all that other shit. So they should have been kicked off the train first stop.
Yeah, but this is we also have to take into account that this is also a universe in which breaking into musical numbers is a common occurrence. So this may be a it may be something that they're just like, okay, all right, they got a musical number, so we're gonna give them a little bit of leeway. They have to do a musical number.
That kind of makes me wonder about the legal system of the Ponyverse. It's like
There's a legal
law
defense of
number
our legal defense is whatever the Latin is for a musical number. It's like, yes, we claim the defense of it was a musical number. All right, let me hear it.
We were breaking into song, not breaking into somebody's house. We swear.
Let's hear. Okay, you want to defend yourself? I want to hear I want to hear the song. If it's good enough, you go free.
Because, I mean, think of all the crap they do in these musical numbers that they break into.
Dancing
And
on
it's just,
tables and all sorts of things.
Yeah, and just like some of the stuff they do during these musical numbers really should not be legal.
It's it's an ex-musical defense. And the prosecutor, just imagining a whole scene of this. They call it the musical defense, and the prosecutor just grabs his hat and just throws it in the ground. It's like, just in frustration. It's like, not another one of these.
It's like that South Park episode with the Chewbacca defense, only it's the musical defense.
Yeah.
I've never actually seen the episode. I learned about it from Legal Eagles. Because all I watch on YouTube are educational and Twisted Tunes. But yeah, that would be a very strange legal system in the Ponyverse.
I have a feeling that Pinkie Pie runs it.
I can picture Pinkie Pie in a powdered wig sitting on a giant judge's table with like a gavel in one hoof and Gummy in the other, just like, all right, let's hear the song. And then after the song is finished, it's like humming along. It's like, all right, you go free.
And then you get the prosecutor throwing his hat on the ground and
Yeah. What about all of the damage?
And the evidence. They clearly did it. You know as well as I do, the ex-musical defense, it covers everything. Do you want to see a world without music? Yes. Make my job easier.
It's like Footloose, but we're going to call it Hoofloo, but with music. The easiest way they could have solved their problem without becoming adults or whatever is the first pony they should have asked was Pinkie Pie.
Yeah, they do leave that out. And there's also the problem of, problem but easily hand-waved is Sugar Belle.
Yeah.
She could have taken care of Big Mac or taken the kids to Appaloosa if she was free, but that's not necessarily the case.
And doesn't she live in a different town, technically?
Yeah, but she spends a lot of time in Ponyville now. Remember from the that one episode? Yeah, she spends a lot of time in Ponyville now.
Et Cantus is singing and dance. So Chorus et Cantus defense.
The chorus et Cantus defense. Song and dance defense. Hate that defense. But yeah, that was the other thing was But yeah, that's easily
Maybe
hand
she was
waved
out of
with.
town at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. There's a couple easy ways. There's she was either out of town or unavailable at the time. Um, but that's again, those are two very good excuses, especially when she's out of town because she just no way she could know that he was sick at the time if he just came down with it.
Yeah.
And I do one thing I do love about this episode. Okay, all the when the kids bring up like when they're talking to Rarity and Rainbow Dash and Twilight Fluttershy, they all bring up "go ourselves" or something to that effect, and they're like they give them those stern warnings, which good. The, Applejack unprompted said, "You're not thinking about going yourselves, are you?" Just completely unprompted, completely going, wait a sec, no. I know what you do, and no.
Yeah, Applejack knows you're bullshit. Applejack wants you to stay here and make applesauce.
Well, at least just don't leave town. It's like you have pretty. They seem to have pretty good run of this town. You just do what you want, just stay out of trouble. Like they seem to be able to go pretty much where
They
they
were
want, as long as they're in Ponyville.
they were going to Appaloosa, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, they have pretty.
Doesn't she have a cousin in Appaloosa?
Yeah, but do you remember the last time they left Brayburn in charge of the CMC? And besides that, they'd have to get them on a train and make sure they came off at the right stop and whatnot.
That happens actually pretty often. People put
Yeah, but this is the CMC. They'll find a way to make a mistake.
it just would have been it's like, okay, you're getting your way, but you have to follow these rules exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. But you'd also have to find a way to communicate to Brayburn to pick him up, and who knows if he was busy. Yeah. Yeah. It's not so much getting him there, because you got Brayburn, and heck, even Troubleshoes would probably watch him for him. I mean, he's.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's getting them there safely in one piece, and getting them on and off at the right stops and whatnot, and all this having to have Applejack arrange it through some means of communicating with him without going there herself. Because if she's just gonna go there herself, she might as well take him herself.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if they had phones, I mean, I guess she could have gotten a hold of Twilight and said, "Hey,
Or Spike.
yeah, could you get Spike to send the letter to Brayburn about this?" Though
Or even
getting a
had
confirmation
Spike go
back
with.
could be a pain, though.
Or even had Spike go with them and chaperone them. It would still be a better option than them letting them sneak off.
Yeah, but the idea is they wouldn't sneak off if they were listening to what they had to say.
Yeah.
But I guess I should start with my note. I kind of skipped ahead to a couple of fun bits, but so the CMC want to go to the Appaloosa County Fair. They prepared snacks, chips and carrots, though Scoot seemed excited about food on a stick. I guess fairs are the same everywhere.
Hey, food on a stick is good.
Oh, I'm not in any way
It depends on
disrespecting
the
the food on the
food.
stick. That is a fair tradition.
It depends on the food.
Yes,
But-
there are some foods that are much better on sticks. Corn
But the
dogs,
best one
delicious.
The best food on a stick is butter on a stick.
Ew.
Butter on the stick. Are you the discorded doctor?
I think he
Yeah.
is discorded hooves.
I'm just pretty sure that that is a thing that exists
Oh,
somewhere.
I'm certain of
Oh,
it.
I don't doubt it. I mean, they have double deep fried cheese Oreo Twinkies.
Oh God, even I think that's too much.
Okay, those things exist. Double deep fries, cheese crusted Twinkies, and Oreos and shit like that. I do not doubt
Yeah.
that there's such a thing as butter on a stick. It's
I-
disgusting, but I
I-
don't doubt that it
I
exists.
don't live
because
too. Go ahead.
because people are trying to kill themselves with pulmonary disease. That's just all it is. It's like they
Such is
realize,
tradition at the county fair or the state fair.
or
I'm
whatever
not.
fair.
Yeah, I'm not too geographically distant from the in the grand scheme of things. I'm not too geographically distanced from the Texas State Fair, and that is infamous for the amount of for the creative uh, and odd
If it can be
thing.
eaten, it can be fried.
Yes,
That is the
if
Southern creed, okay?
if it can fit in a deep fryer, it can be fried.
Deep fried grasshoppers. Yum.
Well, we have a delicacy. Well, it's pretty much a German thing. We
What is that?
Amber Alert.
Oh.
Um, we have it's kind of a I think it's based off of basically a German dish, but you have chicken fried steak. We have chicken fried steak. My grandfather tried to order it someplace up north, and the waitress, "Oh, what, sir?" You basically just take a cheap steak, pound the daylights out of it until it's nice and thin, and then fry it like chicken.
That sounds disgusting.
Oh, it's delicious with a bit of cream gravy.
I don't like gravy.
Eh, you're lost. We also have steak fingers, which is basically mini chicken
It's
fried steak.
basically like chicken fingers or fish fingers, but steak.
Yes.
Because you guys will eat anything that's made out of
Oh, we had them at
cow
school.
or pig.
We had them at school. We had steak fingers. I mean, it wasn't the best meat, but it was, they would take cheap steak and sort of, it wasn't as good as like a chicken fried steak because that's got nice and crispy. It's a lot more crispy and has all the nice fried bits like chicken does, but steak fingers are I think they're more baked, but it's the same kind of idea. Tenderize some cheap beef and do that, and it's delicious. Especially if you also have if you have mashed potatoes and cream gravy at the same time, and you could tap the steak fingers in that, and you can get a little gravy on your steak finger. Sorry, I got a bit off on tangent, so now
Okay,
I'm
I
salivating.
think now wipe the drool from your face and let's keep going.
Yes. But yes, they're the same thing. Okay. They got their train tickets, which is also an interesting thing. It's like they threw the conductor or the station master the tickets as they were boarding. What blind person sold you full tickets?
Maybe they ordered them online.
Well, they bought them before they went. They made a point of, we got our tickets, we got our food.
Maybe they picked them up, ordered it over the phone
No,
or
I
whatever.
think they already had them. They already had them. I just think
No, I know, but I'm saying they ordered them first and then came saying, I'm here to pick up the tickets for, and then,
Oh, I think
whatever.
they already had them in hoof when
Yes,
at
I
the
know, but I'm saying they ordered them first, picked them up, and then had them. You can do that, especially if you're in a place that has the
well, no, while
tickets
they were still
faster, like
foals,
right
they
away.
bought it. They got them because they already
Yeah.
had them while they were foals, and then
Or,
they went there and they just sort of threw the tickets at the station master / conductor or whoever it was, and
My
he
real
ran in.
question about that is why they didn't. Okay, why didn't they have 4 tickets? Because even if they assumed that each of the other ones was bringing their chaperone, they would have assumed there was a chaperone going to be there, so they would have gotten a ticket for the chaperone.
Yeah.
yeah, and maybe the train tickets are just all ages.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
also a point, but it I don't know. Maybe they have you print your name on the ticket as well or something. I don't know. And so they needed to know who it was before they could purchase the ticket. I don't know. Or they hoped that that adult would pay for the ticket themselves. Um. Anyway, so they've had it prepared for a while, but turns out no one actually asked an adult to chaperone them. Sweetie's huffy little kicking the prep board was hilariously cute. Just like just kicks the board over. That was kind of cute. Um, three potential chaperones are all busy with responsibility. Rarity has to keep a promise her business made to Fancy Pants for his Top Hat and Monocle Appreciation Society. Dash has Wonderbolt cloud busting duties. And Applejack has a Big Mac to tend to. They all tell the girl it's a bad idea to go by themselves. AJ's the only one that does it, basically unprompted. We covered that. So they go to see. Well, they catch. I guess they caught Fluttershy out in the open when they asked her. And they follow her to. Her and Twilight, trying to convince them. But they're both busy with a flower from Star Swirl. And again, they both say, "This is a dumb idea. Don't do it. Don't do it." They also sneak in another little lesson of. They also get the lesson that while grown-ups have a lot more freedom, they also have a lot more responsibility. You as an adult you can go out and buy a gallon of Rocky Road ice cream and eat it yourself, but
Yeah, but here's the problem.
you're
You
gonna
can, but you shouldn't.
yeah,
You'll
that's
regret.
the whole thing. You can, but there's consequences as well, because you're gonna be sick, or you'll get you won't have the kid metabolism to handle it, or you know uh, you know any number of things. It's like you can, but you shouldn't. And they bring up in the song, it's like, we can go when we go to bed. We don't have to even close our eyes or something like that. They can stay up as late as they want. Yeah, but most adults are like, kind of tired, want to sleep anyway. I actually like sleep. Um,
It's like, kid, oh God, I hate sleep so much. I want to stay awake all night. As an adult, sleep is my only mistress.
yes. It's like I don't know why adults. I'm never gonna. And then when you're an adult, you're like, I wish I slept more.
Yeah. Sleep good.
um, so obviously, it turns out the flower they were working with was a wishing flower, and their
Yeah,
desire to be grown up manifested them using up a petal to become physically mature.
and to be fair, our Are wishing items really that special in a land of magical unicorns?
Well, I mean, there are still things that you can't do.
True, but that
And
just takes like practice and knowledge until you're able to.
not necessarily. If you're an Earth Pony or a Pegasus, you can't do magic.
And that's true.
Well, and there are certain magics that even, normal unicorns just can't do.
Yeah.
Because there's
Not
the
every
age.
pony is as powerful as the others.
Yeah, well, and just stuff that's beyond normal unicorns entirely at the moment. At least from research at this point, because we had Magic Duel. And it's like, that spell is impossible. Except it wasn't when, Trixie had the amulet, or Twilight pretended to be able to gender swap, and just used Big Mac and Applejack and swapped that. Um, and that was a surprise. It's like, you're not supposed, those sort of spells aren't supposed to be possible. And I guess a wish granting flower would go around those things. So there's some techniques that are out of reach of even the most powerful of unicorns. And so at that point, you need a special thing outside of unicorn magic, or something that takes a heavy cost to work to get those things done. So they rush through town and barely make the train. Though Skulu's poor Scooter is taking a beating. Just Apple Bloom responds, "Of course we did. We're grown-up ponies now. We can do anything. And all those worries Twilight and the others had don't have to apply anymore, because we're big. And being big is all it takes."
Yeah. And it's nice to see that they, even though, grown up, Scootaloo's still a gimp.
Oh, don't do that. And that's another thing. Scootaloo's voice, I guess because she's already using probably something close to her natural voice. Maybe she had a naturally sort of deeper voice, but Scootaloo's voice doesn't change all that much with the maturity. I guess her voice just sort of, she didn't have a big change when she grew. Peter's didn't have a big change. Or, well, she was starting at 13, so she may have already had sort of gone through some of her voice change already. So the change by the time we got to now wasn't as big as Kraber and Coilette had growing up. But anyway, so we get a song number.
Yeah.
To which we get an interesting picture of the globe Equestria is on. And
Kill thousands for every step we take.
So,
And it was nice to have a comeback to the Hat and Monocle Society.
And we also got the CMC directing themselves in the opening scene, which is kind of funny. It's just like, eh. So let's see. Already covered that. So they get directions from the Hayseed Junction station master through the treacherous woods after realizing they've already had things not go well.
Something about that Junction master. When I first heard his voice, without seeing him, I was like, "Wait, is that T-Rex?" Like, it sounded like him for like the brief second. Like, wait, what?
My equestrian geography is not that good, but is that the same junction that they had in the Kieran episode? They just went a different way, and instead of ending up in Appaloosa, they ended up in the Kieran village.
So
Maybe.
so funny story. Like very similar to this My Little Pony episode. The first time I went to BronyCon, coming home from it, there was a train I was supposed to take to the airport, and I just thought it was the straight path. I did not know that I had to get off at one junction and then wait for the next train to get to the airport. So, God damn it.
Yeah, those are the most annoying things when you got to transfer. Like,
Oh, that
there,
always makes me nervous if I have to
yeah,
do something like that. I'm like, okay, I'm counting stops. I'm making sure,
yes,
okay, because I don't do it very often. So unless it's something I've done a bunch,
yeah.
I'm get
Like,
really nervous about. Is that the right one? It's the wrong one.
yeah, I'm like constant. The first time I
'Cause-
went to C2E2, I had I don't know if it works outside of Chicago, but there's this website called Guru or Guru, and it lets GOROO, that is a trip planner, and it gives you like what bus to take and where to get off and how far to go to the next thing, like the train or whatever, and gives you your entire trip. And I like screenshot that in case and had that saved on my phone. Like, okay, now this is when the bus will get to this point and this train, and I'm just like looking at it every okay, I have 5 stops. But then by the time I got on the green line, it's like, okay, everybody's getting off at the same stop, so I'll just follow them.
Yeah, and sometimes it's easy. When you have a straight shot, like there's a train that goes from Fort Worth to Dallas, and it drops you off right in front of, basically right in front of the hockey slash basketball uh, arena, and so I've ridden that before, and that's really convenient because driving in Dallas is nonsense. But I was like, it's only one thing you get on, and then you just watch until you see all the people in Stars jerseys leaving the train. When they start leaving the train, you're probably at your stop. But uh yeah, it was, but yeah, that's always a panic. Anyway, let's see. So
So even though you're an adult, you still go through these.
yes, you still, but you as an adult, you know to be concerned. As a
Yeah,
kid, you like they said, it's like I just thought the train took you exactly where you wanted to go. It's like
don't we all?
no, no, not quite. Unless you just always go from terminus to terminus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they quite do. uh, but unless you're constantly going straight shots, there's that's not always. Um, so I was just trying to kind of encapsulate some of their lessons here that they were trying to the show was trying to get across. Adults don't have authority from just being big, but also from experience, from being taught, and their own mistakes. That kind of encapsulates because they rotate all the reasons why you listen to adults. It's like, anyway, so they start to panic about being lost, as was warned, but they run into a couple of holes in a road to Appaloosa. I like I like that there's a little subtle sturdiness in the background. There's this country couple in the background, and they see the CMC crawling out of the swamp, and they just sort of, it's like,
Yeah,
really?
snooty country bumpkins. Fly. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's a thing. It's not really as much of a thing. Oh, sure,
Well,
they'd
I
laugh at
mean,
you. They'd probably laugh at you, but they're not. Snootiness is not a big a thing.
well, it depends on your religious polarization. Because rednecks, in my experience, because we do have those in Illinois, they're very, very religiously polarized. Religiously and politically polarized. So if you're not what they are, they will like ostracize you and be like, ugh, you heathen, you're going to hell. So I mean, I've seen the snootiness of them.
Well, I mean,
Maybe not the
about coming
upturned
out of the swamp
nose.
like they were. I wouldn't think
Yeah,
that would.
maybe not that.
Yeah, it's like if yeah, I could understand if they might. You might have a little bit of holier than thou sometimes, but the coming out of the swamp and having mud and whatnot, it's like, yeah, they just took a shortcut. I'm not gonna sit here and judge them because they probably did it themselves at some point. They probably messed about in the swamp at some point in their lives, too. So they're like, yeah, I've been there. uh, especially if they're locals. Anyway, so Biscuit and Spur have an argument about Bluefy. Spur actually takes care of him and thinks it isn't a good idea to bring him somewhere so exciting. Biscuit wants to bring him to the fair anyway. The girls recommend taking him because it would allow them to follow the foals to the fair, despite Bluefy getting pretty worked up just seeing Apple Bloom. So it's like, yes, this is clearly not a good
Just
idea.
excited.
This is clearly not a good idea, but we're going to do it anyway.
A social anxiety pet. I need one.
I want a pet octopus.
Okay. So the girls do about what you'd expect a bunch of kids. They immediately abandon Biscuit and Spur to run around willy-nilly, and Biscuit runs off to enter Bluefy in the showcase. After being told, oh, you should put it in the showcase. That's such an interesting animal. The girls are still thinking that Spur just doesn't want to share, but she's genuinely concerned about overstimulating Bluefy. It goes very well at first until things get too intense for Bluefy, and he turns from a little purplish Scottish Terrier with a monkey face to a tornado.
I will destroy all of you for bow down to Floofy.
That was Bluefy.
Floofy.
Yeah.
I don't know, I can't tell what they're saying.
Yeah, I was. Sometimes it sounded like Floofy. Sometimes it sounded like Bluefy. Sometimes it sounded like Woofy. I couldn't understand them.
Well, wait 1 second. Let me pull up the transcript, and we can tell.
I did not have closed captioning on it, so I did not know because
Yeah,
it's Bluefy from what the transcript seems to say.
It's
so,
what?
Bluefy. BLOOFY.
As in beta?
Yeah, B as in boy, LOOFY.
Luffy too.
Wasn't it more of a purplish color?
Yeah, it was more purplish.
Then why is it called Bluefy?
Well, it's not
You'd
spelled
think
like
it was
blue.
like purple flea or Indiflea or violet flea. Although it is kind of a violent flea.
You could call it. They could have just called it Violet.
Yeah. Or Floofy. Or no, wait, that's Madrox's nickname.
Yes.
So they.
Fluffer butter.
So the CMC are like, well, we're the adults. We need to be helping. And Scooter tries calming him with a treat. It doesn't work. Sweetie teleports Biscuit out of harm's way, but her horn doesn't seem to like it, and she winds up inside a hay bale. Like, you can see that, like, her horn is, like, sparking weirdly, and she didn't land behind the hay bale, she landed in the hay bale. So
Hey,
we know
though,
how
you should
teleportation
start
works, kind of.
fighting.
It seems to push things out of the way. Um, uh, anyway, Twilight and Fluttershy show up, help resolve the situation with Biscuit, and the girls apologize with Biscuit, and the girls apologizing to Spur.
Yeah, I love when they go to him. Hey, you won't believe it, but it's us. And Twilight just gives it. You see the shit I have to deal with.
Yeah,
and
it's like, yeah, you look exactly like your younger selves. Bitch, no.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's not surprising, especially when Fluttershy freaking calls it.
Yeah.
It's like,
besides, if it were humans, that would be one thing. But when you age up a pony, it looks exactly the same as it was. Even
yeah,
their hairstyles were almost identical.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure in universe there'd be subtle changes that because they're
Yeah,
simply
like,
drawn. But for us, from our perspective, from what we can see, yeah, they just
well,
look like they just recolored some models that were, you normal pony size, and
not
just went
only
with
that,
that.
but like we were talking about before with the scars and stuff, as they grow older, their personalities change, their interests change, so their hairstyles would change. They would not have the same mane styles when they grow up as they do as foals in a normal circumstance. You
That's
never
not necessarily the case. They could have kept them, but it's not necessarily the case they would keep them either.
Probably. It's not probable that they'd keep them. I mean, normally you go through phases in your life with different styles, different interests, you change every 7 years technically. Your personality over that time slowly evolves, and you're not the same person you were.
Yeah,
Your interests aren't the same.
it's like, Judge, yes, Judge, I did murder all those people, but that was like 7 years ago. I'm a completely new man now.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I think it depends. I guess it depends on who you are, because I really haven't changed all that much in terms of hairstyle.
Yeah,
I
but
grow it a
you're a
little
hippie.
longer these days, but not a particular style. It's like I don't.
Okay, guys are less likely to change their hair.
Yeah.
Females change their hair constantly,
Yeah,
especially somebody like not Sweetie Belle. Apple Bloom was the fashionista. Which one was the fashionista?
Rarity?
No.
Well, I think Apple Bloom knew some things about stuff, but she was just the fashionista in the Apple clan. So that's, that's not saying much.
Yeah.
It's like being the fashionista in the Apple clan is knowing, oh, yeah, that's a thing. Okay. Well, you sure seem to know a lot. But yeah, I think Apple Bloom probably not going to change a whole lot, just because she's going to have, you know, they're farmers. They're probably not going to get into anything fancy. Sweetie Belle might change, and I think Scootaloo Rainbow Dash didn't really change at all. Her hairstyle is basically the same. It just got a little smoother because it got a little longer, but I think Scootaloo won't change that much. um, Sweetie Belle might change it up. Sweetie Belle might change it up because she likes to perform and likes to do stuff. So I imagine she'll change it up a little bit. But
Yeah.
I don't expect the other two to be. They're a little more rugged, so they're probably a little less likely to change it up too much. They'll change it up a little, but probably not too much. Anyway, so The girls are revealed to be actually be younger than Biscuit and Spur, and we get credits.
Wait, you're younger than us?
Yeah, you're younger than us. It's like, yep. Which it's.
No, we're just really short adults.
I think it would have been nice. I mean, if they had gone to something like, I don't know what season it would have been, but if they'd gone to something kind of like, that sort of mid-tier sort of, because they've got basically three models. There's the full model, there's sort of the young Applejack model, like the way that, and really sort of that teenage pony model that's sort of spindly and whatnot, and then they've got the adult model, and those are basically the three models. And it would have been interesting if a few years ago they like on a season change had upgraded them to the teenage model at some point. But consistency is a thing, but it cuts both ways. Consistency means you're going to have the same look, so it's consistent, and people will know what they're looking at. They'll, oh, that's definitely Sweetie Belle. I know that much. Um, but it also means, I mean, just thinking of this from Hasbro's perspective, you could make some money off of selling teenage CMC. But then again, you also think about your target audience are kids, so keeping them looking like kids in the show's kids, maybe that helps. But then they'd have to re-rig the whole models. But then again, they have the models. And it'd be one thing. They had to redo the models somewhat anyway to put the new mark on them. And it wasn't that much, but while you were at it, you could have just upgraded them to, at season's end, you could have upgraded them to full, sort of that mid-tier teenage, spindly young Applejack style or something like that. But then you'd have to. But then again, you'd have to make it make sense. You'd have to take all of their schoolhouse friends and give them all the upgrade as well. So that'd be a lot of work to get all those models upgraded and make those all look right. So at that point, it's not worth the effort to remodel everyone for a few more seasons.
Yeah.
But
they could have just asked Discord to take them.
I was thinking that too.
That would have ended so well.
I know, it would have been so much fun.
Oh, he would have had popcorn. Just. Of course, then again, they might not have. They probably wouldn't have convinced Spur and Biscuit to take Bluefy. So then that whole situation might not have occurred. Because at that point, Discord like, trains are so boring. Snap. And he'd pull something either instant teleport them, or like walk them through a rip in reality, or
just Appaloosa to Ponyville.
Yeah, move Appaloosa to Ponyville for a second. It's like bend the world to let. He's like, oh yes, I'm just going to step over here to Appaloosa now. Come on, and move it back.
I so hope the last episodes have Discord in it. I just need at least one more episode of Discord before the season's over.
You mean the series is over? But yes.
Yeah.
Assuming I'm not even go there with the title, but yeah, or make a Dragon Ball reference, and he floats on a golden cloud. He takes them on a golden cloud there. Of course, then you'd have to be pure of heart, and that doesn't really work to Discord.
I don't get it.
It's a anime reference.
He's pure chaos.
I know what Dragon Balls is. It just
Yeah.
my fan.
But anyway. if you've been up to this, up to us with this at this point and this long into the into the review, yeah, yeah. We're getting off on tangents once more. Anyway,
We're always getting off on tangents.
Yes, I said again once more. Anything else you want to say about this? I mean,
Yeah, there's gonna be a bunch of people that's going, no, it's okay to write this kind of fanfics now. They're adult age. Yeah, you know the ones I'm talking about.
yeah. But I mean, it does. If they wanted to set a non one of those stories and just a story of them as adults doing things, at least they'd know what they look like now. I mean, if they didn't want to write one of those type of stories, just write a story where the CMC happen to be adults at that time. At least they know what they look like.
Yeah.
So, or at least what they're projected to look like. Yeah. Any final thoughts before we switch to DuckTales?
No, not really.
Nope.
All right.